Good morning. It is good to see all of you online today. We welcome those of you joining us on Zoom and those joining us on YouTube. We do most of our sharing through Zoom and know that everyone is welcome on whatever platform you choose. I'm Jo Celine, OUUC Media Specialist. We are leading worship from several locations today, so you will see the service move back and forth between us. We will also be using the chat box throughout the service to post song lyrics and to share from the heart. There is a relatively new feature to our Zoom experience, subtitles. Zoom has added automated closed captioning, and we have enabled this feature for those of you who would like to use it. It's easy enough to alter your settings, so find the CC button at the bottom of your screen and click it to see your options. You can hide subtitles or click subtitle settings to change the text size. This feature is imperfect, especially with translating song lyrics, so feel free to hide subtitles during hymns if they are distracting. We can expect some tech glitches as we continue to do all we can to optimize our connections. We appreciate the grace as we all remember it's about connection, not perfection. Last, I hope you will find a candle or a chalice, and in a moment we can light them together. Thank you all for your grace and adaptability as we all learn together.
Good morning. Let's sing together. We're going to start in the Gray Hymn Book, hymn number 113. First of all, I want to recognize that Gabe Judd is here with us this morning on guitar, and he'll be playing along on all of the hymns today. But I can only put one of us on a camera at the same time and have some good distance between us. So we're going to sing Where Is Our Holy Church, hymn number 113. This is a 16th century hymn, and we've reinvented it this morning to feel like a swing waltz, and I think that you'll enjoy it. Here we go. Where is our holy church, where race and class unite, as equal persons in the search for beauty, truth, and right? Where is our holy writ, where'er a human heart a sacred torch of truth has lit by inspiration taught? Where is our Holy One? A mighty host respond. The people rise in every land to break the captive's bond. Where is our holy land within the human soul? Wherever free minds truly seek the characters, the goal. Where is our paradise in aspiration's sight, wherein we hope to see arise 10,000 years of right, 10,000 years of right. Thank you for giving that a try.
Good morning and welcome to the Olympia Unitarian Universalist Congregation online worship service. At OUUC, we share a covenant, a direction for our shared journey, and a commitment to encourage each other to spiritual growth. Bring who you are and where you have traveled. Bring your heavy hearts, your hearts full of love. Bring your hunger for belonging. You are welcome here. We're so glad that you are with us. My name is Ann Radford, and I use she, her pronouns. I'm a member of the worship arts team. Leading worship with me today is our minister, Reverend Mary Gear, Sarah Lewis, our Director of Community and Faith Development, and Troy Fisher, our Music Director. We give thanks also for the tech team and OUUC Media Specialist, Joe Saline, for providing technical support today. And thanks to Darlene Sarkala, as always, our administrator, for keeping us informed and connected. We're grateful for the many hands that helped make worship happen this morning. After the service, we invite you to stay online for a virtual coffee chat. This is a chance to gather with a small group to say hello and check in. Each breakout room will be hosted by someone to help make sure everyone knows each other and has a chance to share. Reverend Mary will offer reflection questions to get the conversation started, and we hope you'll stay. I want to draw your attention to the order of service, which includes our announcements available on the website. The OUUC board says thank you to everyone who has submitted their vision, mission, end survey. They appreciate the time and thought evident in the responses. Tomorrow is the deadline for sending in the survey. We will still welcome later submissions, but only those received by tomorrow will qualify for the drawing for an ice cream soda. So now is the time to send in that survey. Our Thursday evening spiritual practice continues with a reflection on the monthly spiritual theme for February, Beloved Community. Join Reverend Mary and Reverend Eric Ness Thursday at 7 o'clock for quiet reflection and community. And mark your calendars for the second OUUC COVID Cabaret, Vaccinating Rhythm, on Saturday, February 13th at 4:30. Troy and many of you are putting together an evening of fun and entertainment, plus an opportunity to support the Thurston County COVID-19 Community Response Fund. We hope to see you there. There are many other opportunities to stay connected to each other. Social distancing does not mean social isolation. Please check our website regularly, and if you have questions, check in with a staff member. This morning, bring who you are. Bring your gifts. You're welcome to join our mutual journey towards spiritual growth. Bring what you long for, knowing that you are not alone on this path. Let us join together with love and appreciation for each other. Welcome, everyone. It is good to be together. Each Sunday morning, we join Unitarian Universalist congregations around the world in lighting a chalice, the symbol of our faith tradition. Join me now as we light our chalices together with these words from Sharon Wiley. Let this be the place you consider what you've never considered. Let this be the place you imagine for yourself something new and unthinkable. May this hour bring dreams of new ways of being in the world.
Good morning. Our opening words this morning are offered by Jeff May. Come, gather, not into a common space, sharing a physical closeness we all long for, precluded by wise choice. But come, gather into this common time and a common space. We need to be together. We yearn for connection. We hunger for the familiar faces of friends, the sound of shared voices proclaiming who we are, where we are going, that which resonates with our hopes, our dreams, our values. Come, gather. We are here in this space made of all spaces, and we share our becoming in this moment. Come, let us worship together.
Let's sing together again. This time, hymn number 159 out of the Gray Hymnal. This is my song. This is my song, O God of all the nations, a song of peace for lands afar and mine. This is my home, the country where my heart is. Here are my hopes, my dreams, my holy shrine. But other hearts in other lands are beating with hopes and dreams as true and high as mine. My country's skies are bluer than the ocean, and sunlight beams on clover leaf and pine. But other lands have sunlight too, and clover, and skies are everywhere as blue as mine. Oh, hear my song, thou God of all the nations, a song of peace for their lands and for mine. Thank you for singing.
Good morning. My story for you today is called The Musicians of Brementown. There was a farmer who had a donkey. The donkey had gotten rather old, and the farmer felt that it wasn't worth the effort anymore. He was about to get rid of the donkey, have him done in. And the donkey, sensing that something was wrong, decided this was a good time to run away. Why, perhaps he would go to Brementown to become a town musician. And so the donkey was on the road to Brementown, a musician he would be. It wasn't very long that the donkey was on the road before he came across a dog lying sadly by the side of the road. "What's the matter?" the donkey asked the dog. "Oh, it's so sad," said the dog. "Why, I've grown old and I no longer hunt, and so my masters were ready to get rid of me, have me done in fact. So I ran away, but now here I am, and I don't know how I'll earn enough for my food. Oh, all I can do anymore is bark. Arf, arf, arf." "Well," the donkey said, "you could join me. I'm going to Brementown to become a town musician." The dog agreed, and soon they were on the town road to Brementown. Musicians they would be. Well, the dog and the donkey went along for ways, and it wasn't all that long before they came across a cat lying by the side of the road. The cat was meowing. "Oh, meow, woe is me. Why, I've grown old, and all I want to do is lie by the fire. But now that I don't chase mice, they don't want me anymore. And so how am I to make my way in the world? All I can do is just meow." "Well," the donkey said, "you would add something to the chorus. Would you like to join us? We're off to become musicians in Brementown." The cat agreed, and so now they were on the road to Brementown. Musicians they would be. Well, it wasn't all that much longer before they came upon a rooster perched by the road, screaming, "Cock-a-doodle-doo! Oh, woe is me! Tomorrow I'm destined for the soup pot. Whatever shall I do? Cock-a-doodle-doo!" "Well," said the donkey, "you would certainly add something to our song. We're on the road to Brimmentown to become town musicians. Would you like to join us?" The rooster agreed, and now they were all four on the road to Brimmentown. Musicians they would be. But it was a long road to Brimmentown, and they couldn't get there in one day. So they decided to sleep in the forest that night. The donkey and the dog lay down beneath a tree. The cat climbed up in the branches, and the rooster flew all the way to the top of the tree to look around and get a lay of the land. He saw something and came back down. "I think there's a house nearby," he said. "I saw a little light." And all agreed that they were tired and hungry and perhaps shelter could be found for the night, so they went to check out the little house. When they got to the cabin, they arranged themselves so they could see in the window. The donkey put his legs against the wall. The dog climbed on top of the donkey's head. The cat climbed on top of the dog. And then the rooster perched on top of the cat's head and looked in the window. Inside were robbers sitting around a roaring fire, having a great time with a table covered with delicious food. All four agreed that they could get rid of the robbers and have the food to themselves if they just sang their song super loud. And so right outside, the donkey went hee-haw, at the same time that the dog went arf, 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 and the cat went meow, and the rooster meanwhile crowed cock-a-doodle-doo as loud as he could. And all of this ruckus scared the robbers, who came running out of the cabin and into the woods. And the four friends went inside and had a grand time. And then they went down to sleep. It wasn't much after they had gone to sleep that the bravest of the robbers decided to come back and see what had happened. It was awfully quiet now. Perhaps they'd all fled too soon. The robber went into the cabin and looked around. And what did he see? But the cat's two eyes burning like hot coals. He went to strike a match so he could see the rest. And at that moment, the cat jumped at him and clawed his face. The dog leaped up and bit him on the ankle. The donkey assisted him across the yard with a swift kick. And meanwhile, the rooster all the while was screaming, cock-a-doodle-doo! Well, the robber was terrified and went running back to their friends and said, "Oh, you wouldn't believe what happened. I went back into the cabin, and a witch jumped up and scratched me with her bony fingers. A killer stabbed me in the leg. A monster beat me with a club, and all the while the devil was on top of the roof yelling, 'Bring him to me!' We should never go back to that cabin." And they never did. And the four friends to this day live happily in the cabin in the woods, making their music. Thus ends our story.
We came together in community this morning, bringing all that is in our lives. In this space, we draw on the strength of our community to listen deeply and hold all that we bring here with us. If you would like to send in something to share, please look for the link on the online worship page at the OUUC website, or send me an email and we'll bring it into the service next week. In this space, we share from our hearts what brings us joy and sorrow, and what brings us delight and worry, what makes us dance, and what makes us anxious. Let's open our hearts to the complexity of life, ours and others. You will hear a drum beat as we share today. It brings into our awareness that our individual hearts beat, and together we create the heartbeat of our community. Right now, I invite us to take a deep breath together, in and out. And let's open our hearts to receive the complexity of all that is in our lives and community today. Harthorn Campbell shares that Naomi Atkins, their close friend and partner, suffered a heart attack on the afternoon of Sunday, January 24th, and passed away very early the next morning. Naomi is survived by the two daughters that she and Harthorn shared, Deirdre and Bridget, and by her wife, Mia Atkins. Harthorn, we hold you and your family in love in your time of mourning. We are so sorry for your loss. I invite you now to share from your heart by entering in the chat on your screen. This is a time to share all that you wish, joys and sorrows and whatever else is shared from your heart. As we take in what is posted, let's hear the heartbeat of our community and reach out our hearts in love and care to all those who share. I place a stone in the water for all that has been shared from the heart, a stone holding the complexity of our lives, held by the water of community. And one more stone in the water for all that we hold in our hearts and that remains unspoken. I invite you now into a time of reflection, prayer, and meditation with these words offered by David Breeden. We cry out in grief at the suffering we see. People, all living things, the planet. Preventable suffering, yet it continues on and on. When we feel overwhelmed, we gather to find a path, to find new ways forward. When we feel overwhelmed, we know that to our right and to our left are the faces of caring, faces of companionship. Joining together, we find our refuge. We find our strength. We find our wisdom. We find our way forward. Let's hold a moment of silence together.
Let's join in singing together hymn number 1059, May Your Life Be as a Song. Take a breath, here we go. May your life be as a song, resounding to the dawn, to sing awake the light and softly serenade the stars, ever dancing circles in the night. Since we have Gabe here, why don't we try singing it in a round? If you want to sing first, you can sing with Gabe. And if you want to be the second part, you can sing with me. Here we go, Gabe, when you're ready.
May your life be as a song, resounding with the dawn,
Be
to sing awake the light,
resounding to the dawn, to sing awake the light, and softly serenade the stars, ever dancing circles in the night.
Resounding with the dawn,
Be
to sing
as a
awake the
song,
light,
resounding to the dawn, to sing awake the light, and softly serenade the stars, ever dancing circles in the night, ever dancing circles in the night.
Our prayers and meditations deepen our gratitude for what we know is sacred in our lives and in this world. This morning, we express our gratitude by joining together in service to our community and to something greater than ourselves. Just for today, our special offering recipient is the Pacific Northwest Unitarian Universalist Growth Foundation, otherwise known as PNUUGF. This group encourages bequests and other gifts to help finance growth projects of Unitarian Universalist congregations in the Pacific Northwest District and the British Columbian region of the Canadian Unitarian Council. The PNUUGF is administered by an elected board of trustees who are unpaid volunteers. Reverend Mary is one of those volunteers. Our congregation and many others in the region benefited from the generosity of PNUUGF last spring when COVID hit. The foundation offered grants to UU congregations to help purchase suddenly essential technology and equipment. We take the offering today with gratitude for the foundation's support and their ongoing work to grow our faith tradition. Please note that you can participate in the offering by making an online donation through our church website or by texting the number that will appear on your screen in just a moment. You can also mail a check to OUUC. May the offering now be generously given as it is gratefully received.
Imagine there's no heaven. It's easy if you try. No hell below us. Above us only sky. Imagine all the people living for today. I imagine there's no countries. It isn't hard to do. Nothing to kill or die for, and no religion too. Imagine all the people living life in peace. You may say I'm a dreamer, but I'm not the only one. I hope someday you'll join us, and the world will be as one. Imagine no possessions. I wonder if you can. No need for greed or hunger. A brotherhood of man. Imagine all the people sharing all the world. You may say I'm a dreamer, but I'm not the only one. I hope someday you'll join us, and the world will be as one. You may say I'm a dreamer, but I'm not the only one. I hope someday you'll join us, and the world will be as one.
Thank you for your generous gifts. Today's reading is Soul Lifts by Tess Bomberger. Wouldn't it be great if you could take a picture of your soul? Then, when your mother wanted to brag about you, she could show people the picture and say, "That's my daughter. Doesn't she have a beautiful soul, all sparkly and many colored and flowing all around her? Wouldn't it be great if we walked around surrounded by our souls so that they were the first things people saw instead of the last things? Then people would judge us by who we really are instead of how we look. Imagine no more racism, ageism, sexism, fatism, shortism, homophobia. Imagine falling in love with who a person is just by looking at them. It would be a kind of cloaking device, hiding physical faults, defects, or even perfections. I'd want it to be mandatory. Then people would work at making their souls more attractive instead of their bodies and faces. Imagine people knowing your soul, knowing by your soul that you really, really need a hug. Imagine people helping each other and their souls changing colors or growing. Imagine soul gyms with exercises to get your sagging soul in shape. Imagine the long lines forming for soul lifts at churches, temples, mosques, synagogues, or nature's grand cathedrals. Imagine. This ends the reading.
All right, if you're at home, I want you to sing along with me. We're going to do the chorus. Cause you may say I'm a dreamer, but I'm not the only one. I hope someday you will join us, and the world will be as one. You may say I'm a dreamer, but I'm not the only one. I hope someday you will join us, and the world will live as one.
Gabe, thank you so much for sharing your music with us today. On Sunday mornings, the worship leaders for the day gather at about 9:30 on Zoom, and we go through what I call the pre-flight checklist. We decide who's doing what for tech support for the day, things like who's posting in the chat and who's recording and who's streaming to YouTube. We do a sound check and a visual check. We ask, how's my lighting? Can you hear me okay? Any concerns? Troy sound checks his microphone and the piano, and Sarah checks her sound and the visuals she's going to use for the day, puppets or props or slides. And we all check out which pair of glasses Sarah has on that day. And over these months of online services, as we prepare for worship, I've noticed that I and others sometimes say things like, I'm having a hard time hearing Curtis today. Is that just me? Or I'm hearing a buzz in the background. Is that on my end? Or Sharon's screen looks frozen to me. Anybody else see that? We check to see if our experience of the world is the same as others. We're asking, do we share the same reality? In this virtual world, we've learned that our experience is shaped by the devices we use, the many kinds of screens that we have in our lives right now. And I notice that consciously or not, we've come to understand that what we see and hear and experience through our screens may be different from what others are seeing and hearing and experiencing through their screens. Today's topic of how to be together and different is in response to a question that Karen Jackson asked me. Karen was the winning bidder in last summer's auction for a sermon on a topic of our mutual interest. And when Karen and I spoke last month to explore what was on her mind and in her heart, she mentioned how she had come to understand that there are a large number of people in this country who see things so differently from her. And little did we know last month how much that difference would become even more apparent in the first week of this year. Karen's request was that we explore how we can learn to live together on this shared planet when we are not the same and never will be. Her study of Native teachings tells her that we are not all wired the same, and that we can't easily change how we're wired, if at all. And not only are people different, but what about all the plants and animals and other species that we share this planet with? She asked this big question: how are we to be together when we are so different? Thank you, Karen, for asking this question. It has become even more pertinent and important in recent days and weeks. It is an important question for us as a faith community and for us as a nation. Whether or how we answer this question will determine our future. Will our answer be inclusive and just or not? If we want to be together and different in ways that are inclusive and just, what will help us get there? So it won't surprise you to hear that as a religious leader, I'd suggest spiritual practices, and I have a few practices to offer today. The first is the practice of awareness. And by that, I don't mean general awareness, but the awareness of differences. Karen's awareness that there were some people whose reality was so different from hers caused her to ask this big, important question. For those of us who are bridge builders and peacemakers, we might try to deny or minimize differences. Yes, we try to find common ground, and common ground, having common ground, doesn't mean that we are the same. Yes, we are one. We each have the spark of divinity within us, and we are connected in an infinite web. And being one does not mean that we are the same. Denying that we are different can even be harmful. It can sound like this: I don't see color, or race doesn't matter, or I don't think I have to pay attention to pronouns, it's not relevant to me. In order to bridge differences, we have to acknowledge that they even exist in the first place and name that they are there. This pandemic has offered us a window into significant differences between us. Many of us have heard this metaphor in the past year. We are in the same storm, but we are not in the same boat. There are vast differences and so many inequities laid bare by this virus. Who gets it? Who gets medical care? What kind of care they get? And if they even survive. Black, Indigenous, and people of color The acronym is BIPOC, Black, Indigenous, and People of Color communities, and many small businesses have been decimated by this virus. The rich have gotten much richer, and big business has gotten much bigger. I experience these vast differences within our faith community. Large differences between generations, differences in economic means and security, differences in life experience. Some of us are retired with guaranteed income, perhaps enough, or more than enough, or not quite enough. Some of us are frontline workers, donning masks and PPE to be safe in our work. Some of us work remotely at home or elsewhere. Some of us lost our jobs and have been without work for months. Some of us changed jobs. Some of us are working and parenting children who are in school at home. Based on our health status and risk tolerance and a host of other factors, some of us have continued our activities with masks, while others of us haven't left our homes in months. We don't have a shared reality regarding the current state of things. And this will continue as some of us get vaccinated and some of us wait for vaccines for weeks and months. Acknowledging differences means that we have to know who we are as individuals. We have to understand our identities and beliefs, values and circumstances, so we can notice and identify who or what is different, not with judgment. We do that without judgment, but just different. It sounds simple to say that out loud, and yet it is not easy in practice. At its worst, prematurely bridging differences can suggest that either you have to be like me or I have to be like you in order for us to be in relationship. That one of us has to give up who we are in order to be connected. Being who we truly are in the face of difference takes knowing who we are, then noticing and naming the differences. I can hear this noticing and naming as we prepare on Sunday morning. This is my reality, what I see and hear. What do you see and hear? Do we have a shared reality? And that leads to the second spiritual practice. Be curious. Be curious about ourselves and about others. And that's more big questions. Who am I? What do I believe? What are my core values? And how did I come to those values and beliefs? Who are you? What do you believe? What are your core values? And how did you come to those values and beliefs? Once we realize that others may live in a reality that is different from ours, we can be curious about their reality, curious without judgment. And curiosity doesn't always mean asking those questions directly. It might include listening to stories, podcasts, poetry, history, autobiographies. It might mean checking out new information and media sources. It might mean getting proximate, as Brian Stevenson says. For example, those of us who are white can learn about the experiences of BIPOC communities by showing up in multicultural spaces, places where people of color and white people gather. And in those spaces, those of us who are white can listen and observe who is welcomed and who is not, who is talking and who is not, who is comfortable and who is not, And how am I in that space? I believe these are some of the gifts and purposes of a faith community, to provide a place that supports us and holds us as we learn about ourselves, our beliefs and values, and a community that allows us to practice learning to be with others who are different. I've seen this happen at OUUC. For example, I've had a couple of experiences hosting a breakout room after the service where someone introduces themselves with their pronouns and then shared that it was the first time they'd ever done so. They were brave enough to hear a call to be different and to give it a try. They survived the experience and maybe even learned something. I hope they were encouraged and tried it again and again. Sikh activist and civil rights attorney Valerie Kaur calls this practice "see no stranger." Grounded in her faith, she suggests that when we see or meet someone, especially someone who we perceive as different from us, we can say to ourselves, "You are a part of me that I do not yet know. You are a part of me that I do not yet know." This could be a change in attitude or perspective for some of us, a shift from difference is a threat to difference is a learning opportunity. Part of being curious about differences is to notice how we respond to those who we perceive as different. It is uncomfortable and awkward to do something or meet someone new and unfamiliar. That's why we practice. We can notice what and who we feel comfortable with. And we can notice who unsettles us, who troubles us, who challenges us. And we can ask, what is it about them that unnerves us? Or rather, what is it about us that they unnerve us? And that leads to the third spiritual practice, being with discomfort and pain, our own and others. When we listen across differences, we will hear pain. I've experienced this when, as a white person, I hear the life experience of those in BIPOC communities. When we are open enough to hear stories of those who are different, we can grieve with them. And in our listening, we can gather information about how to best act with them on their behalf. Curiosity and being with discomfort is especially important when we listen to those whose beliefs and actions oppose our own. What is the wound they are acting out of? Why do they feel the victim? What are they so afraid of? Please hear that I am not condoning behavior that hurts others. For example, the attempted coup on January 6th was an attack on our democracy and people died. I'm speaking about what was underneath the rage and the fear. What wound was present in them and in our democracy? This is where it is important for white people to listen to white people. It was predominantly white men and women who participated in the attack on January 6th and who continue to support the destructive themes expressed on that day. We who are white cannot ask people of color to listen to those stories, the racist stories. It is too dangerous and harmful. Those of us who are white can be safe enough to do that listening. It may not be easy, but our listening and our anger can help us gather in community to reimagine a future that is more inclusive and just. And we have to learn how to be with our own discomfort. It is hard to try new things, and often we don't get it right. It is uncomfortable to be stretched and challenged. It's hard to witness the pain of others without rushing to fix it or to make it go away or to turn away from it. And this is why we practice in community. We can help each other hear and hold the discomfort and the pain. We can offer rituals, shared rituals to grieve and rituals for hope. We can offer a listening ear for each other, and we can answer calls to action to create the world that we imagine together. And at the heart of all of this is the spiritual practice of love. Okay, that makes 4 spiritual practices. And I'm not talking about romantic love here, but the love that Valerie Kaur calls revolutionary love, the love preached by Jesus and other prophets, love for others, love for our opponents, and love for ourselves. Love that is an intentional choice, the labor of caring for each other and for ourselves, love that can ground our relationships across differences. Over the next 25 years, the demographics of this nation will shift so that the number of people of color will be greater than the number of white people for the first time since colonization. Imagine the potential for creativity and innovation. It's amazing. And those of us who are white have some things to learn as we make this shift. OUUC is not quite yet, a multicultural space. And we have some work to do to get ready for that. Work within ourselves and work within our community. I am so encouraged by the good work that has been done and the work that we continue to do. I encourage you to find places within the OUUC community where you can learn and practice across differences. We do have differences in our community. And the good news is that spiritual practices can be taught, modeled, and practiced. Awareness, curiosity, being with discomfort, and love. Our faith community can be a place where we learn and practice together, doing the inner and outer work to grow. Wouldn't it be great if we could just see people's souls, who we really are? I'm afraid we all have screens through which we experience the world. They are real screens now, but even when we gather in person again, and we will, when we gather in person again, we'll still have screens. They're the limitations of our senses. They're the biases and filters that we were taught or that we develop over the course of our lives. And the more we understand and are aware of our screens, the better we will be at seeing each other's souls, at being together and different. So, whether you are a donkey or a dog or a cat or a rooster, bring all of who you are, and let's imagine the music that we could make together. And may we, by our actions, make this so. Let's just hold a moment of silence together.
Before we sing hymn number 1053, I'd like to thank Gabe Judd again today for sharing his beautiful soul with us. Let's sing out of the Teal Hymn Book, hymn number 1053, How Could Anyone? How could anyone ever tell you were anything less than beautiful? How could anyone ever tell you were less than whole? How could anyone fail to notice that your loving is a miracle? How deeply you're connected to my soul. How could anyone ever tell you were anything less than beautiful? How could anyone ever tell you were less than whole? How could anyone fail to notice that your loving is a miracle? How deeply you're connected to my soul.
Please join me as we extinguish our chalices together with these words from Brian Kiley. The chalice is now extinguished, but its light lives on in the minds and hearts and souls of each one of us. Carry this flame with you as you leave this place and share it with those you know, with those you love, and most especially with those you have yet to meet. May we move in peace.
Let's join together in singing our unison benediction. How bountiful the blessings that surround us. We come together grateful to be one as we go forth and greet the days unwinding. The circle grows as pebbles thrown to pond,